I'm going to tell you of a great hero. You've heard of Hercules, you've heard of King Arthur, and of course, you've heard of Bruno Fasthammer. Wait, you've never heard of Bruno Fasthammer? No? Well, Bruno Fasthammer, look at him. Look at the rippling muscles. Look at the rockin' beard. Look at the confidence. There was no dragon Bruno Fasthammer could not slay. No woman Bruno could not woo. No treasure Bruno couldn't reach out and take. All right, confession time. The reason why you don't know who Bruno Fasthammer is because he was my character when I played Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. Everyone ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons? Anybody? Okay, it's a game where you use your imagination, you sit around with a bunch of friends and you imagine yourselves as great heroes. And another point, this is actually what Bruno really looked like. So there we were as kids, imagining us as heroes, going on epic adventures. But there was one monster, one beast that even the great Bruno Fasthammer could not slay. And in the end, this monster killed Bruno. That's the monster that slew Bruno Fasthammer. Now, this monster, there was no creature he wouldn't run away from. There was no woman he couldn't scare off. And unfortunately, there was no treasure that he thought was within his grasp. So of course, that's me, as a young man. And when I grew up and moved away from playing Dungeons and Dragons on a regular basis, which admittedly was probably okay, got a few more girls that way, more time for them. But what I didn't know at the time is I should not have let go of the lessons that playing that game taught me. That in life, not only do we need heroes, we need to feel like we are heroes ourselves. But as most of the men, or all the men in here probably know, when you become a man, you put away childish things. That's what we're taught, right? You become a man. It's time to suck it up. Be real. So what are all these rules that we're taught of manhood? These, what I like to call lies of manhood. What kind of men are they creating? My friends here. What kind of men are they creating? Posturing, posing, empty. So let's talk about those lies of manhood. The rugged individual. We've all heard about that particular American mythology. Again, more of a lie. We don't need anybody else. We can't seem weak. We can't ask for help. That's not what men do. Suck it up. So what are we doing with that self-imposed isolation, guys? When we're not able to reach out and talk to the other men around us? What do? We treat other men as competition. Is anyone else told that when you were a kid? I know I was. My dad was fond of messing up the phrase, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Actually, he said it's a dog-eat-dog world. But it's a dog-eat-dog world, Anthony. Everyone else is out to get you, to screw you over. When you walk into a room, you're supposed to look for the alpha male. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be the alpha male, as Rayanne talked about earlier. But point being, I don't think that those exist. I think that's a construct that we made up. That people who had domination over others that were weaker than them at any particular time came up with that. We're not wolves. We're not animals. But that's what we're taught. And of course, we're taught to be realistic. But I'm here to tell you that what people call realism is more often than not cynicism, negativity in disguise. So look at all these wonderful things we're told to be as men. Cynical, a loner, opportunistic, get one up on the other guy, be the alpha male. What's it doing for us, guys? Let's talk about the consequences of all these wonderful ways of being a man we're told to do. 80% of all successful suicides are committed by men. I don't think that's a mistake, guys. 6 million men every year go through a major depressive episode. How are the rules of manhood working out for us, guys? And, probably the worst thing of all, is that we're not given the tools to find meaning in our life. Has anyone ever heard of Viktor Frankl? Viktor Frankl survived World War II. He survived the death camps, but unfortunately, his family didn't, including his pregnant wife. Viktor Frankl came out of that, became a therapist, and developed a therapy called logotherapy, which is founded on the very thing that he experienced in those camps. When he looked around and he saw the other prisoners that had lost all meaning and had given up looking for meaning in life, they were the ones that perished. But Frankl, with his own experience, while he was in those same camps, he was determined to have a meaning to follow, even though his entire family had been wiped out. Don't you think if he can still find meaning in his life, that you can too? So let's learn that lesson. So what I propose, instead of all these lies we've been taught of what it means to be a man, it's time to replace that worn-out software, if you want. It's time to replace those worn-out ideas of what it means to be a man. So that's why I say we need to return to a new path. I know that sounds like a paradox, but what I mean is, what I'm going to talk to you about today is nothing new. It's something that we as a species have known deep down for thousands of years. So we need to return to something that to us in the modern age is new, is something unknown to us. Living like heroes every day, and getting rid of all of the selfish, self-focused motivations that we as men have been taught to live by. The hero's journey was something developed by Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was a scholar. He collected all of these great myths from all around the world, and what he discovered is that cultures that could not possibly have had any connection with each other all came up with a similar cycle, what he called the monomyth, but what we'll call the hero's journey. So how did all these cultures from around the world come up with the same cycle, the same process of stories where heroes went out into the world and conquered their fears? This is the hero's journey. Heroes from around the world and all great myths are called to adventure. And they go out and go beyond the threshold of what the rest of the world knows. They go beyond what is comfortable. And if there's one thing about our world today, we love our comfort. But ask yourselves what that comfort gives to us. What does that comfort give to us? Like you heard Joe talk about tonight. If you're in your safe, your comfortable zone, maybe all of us have been talking about if you're in your man cave, which is okay to have, but it becomes a place that you don't leave. Whether it's virtual or an actual place, you're not going on that adventure that's waiting for you. Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Perseus from ancient Greece, Horus from Egypt, Brahma from India, Beowulf from England, and King Arthur from all across the medieval world. But let's update it for you a little bit. Him. Or him. Or even him. Superman, Luke Skywalker, Neo from the Matrix, and Frodo Baggins. Do I need to make it a little more local for you, though? There's no difference between all of these figures we created as a species besides a few hundred, or maybe in some cases 1,000 years. They're all heroes that we created. Why do we keep doing this over and over? Because there is something deep down that we need. We need to be inspired to be like these creatures, these characters we create. So, let's talk about what we can learn from the humanities. Because what I had done after I became a man and went to college and was following the lies of manhood, I forgot my training in the humanities. I had an English major from Rutgers University that I earned. But then I did what the lies of manhood told me to do. Go out, be a loner, just forget all that fluffy stuff that you learned. It's time for reality, time to get that job. Like everybody else does. Who cares if you like it? That's too bad. Suck it up, be a man. We talked about consequences earlier. I kept my head down so many years and didn't look where I was going. I didn't pay attention to my loved ones around me. And as a consequence of following the lies, I hurt them deeply. And myself. I suffered under an undiagnosed mental disorder, and eventually I filled myself up with so much stress and so much anger and so much bitterness that I almost committed suicide the slow and painful way, the secret way, the silent way. Because at the age of 33, I had a heart attack. Because I had kept it all inside of me until it almost killed me. And that's why I turned back to the hero's journey, because the lies of manhood weren't working for me. And I hazard to guess that they're not working for some of you. So let's talk about these vital heroic traits. First one, as you saw in the diagram earlier, seek mentors and helpers. When a hero goes out on that journey, they seek and they find helpers and mentors. So let me ask you a question. Who in your life right now is your mentor? Who's your Gandalf? Everyone knows who Gandalf is from the Lord of the Rings movies, right? Who's your Gandalf? Who's someone who's wiser than you? Who's someone that you look up to right now? That is in your life. You just got to reach out. And reach out. Connect with them again. Maybe you haven't for a long time. The same thing with friends, family, or other people in your life, like therapists, who you could ask for help, that we're not asking for help because that's not what men do. It's time to change that. What I want you to do next is build a personal mythology. Any of those characters that I showed you on the screen that popped up, if any of them resonated with you, it's okay. Use fictional characters if you want to build this inner support system. Look to their example. But even better is real people. One of my great heroes when I was a kid was Michael Jordan. And I never wanted to play basketball. I was no good at playing basketball. But it wasn't about the basketball. It wasn't about the game. It was about what he stood for. The discipline. The practice over and over to get something right. What's the building block of civilization? What I call the lost caveman skill. What we're told not to do. Because Matt Lauer told me that everyone else is just trying to kill me, or steal my stuff, or hack my database. Community. Community is the building block of civilization. It's what created civilization in the first place. But here, thousands and thousands of years after the first civilizations were created, we're throwing community away because of fear. You wonder why we have the problems we have, guys? Because we're throwing away what even cavemen were smarter than us. Because they knew they needed each other, or else woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers were going to get rid of us. So that's the only way we survive. So the bottom line, guys, build a community. Whoever it's made up of, find it. Because you know what? Studies are showing that you will live longer. You will live measurably longer if you have a community. The next trait of being a hero is rewrite your reality. Perception equals reality. Who knows who Tug McGraw is? What did Tug McGraw always say? You gotta believe. Don't disappoint the tugger. You gotta believe. How many times in your life have you, if you raise your hand, if you've ever said to yourself, I can't do X, I can't do that. I can't do this because, oh, I'm fat, or I'm ugly, or someone told me that I'm no good at sports, or like my dad used to like to tell me, oh, Anthony, you're what we call book smart. You don't got no street smarts. That's all you got for the rest of your life is just the book smarts. And to him, that was tantamount to being a loser and lost in life and hopeless. You going to keep believing that? You going to keep letting that inner critic talk to you, or are you going to take a chance on yourself and do something different? Meaning comes from you. Meaning comes from you. Don't wait for meaning to find you. Find it yourself. Just like Viktor Frankl did in those death camps. He didn't wait for meaning to find him, because if you start thinking that your meaning is somewhere, floating around in space somewhere, and it's just waiting for your ship to come in, it's not going to happen. Make it yourself. But first, you have to believe that you can take control. There was a man named Charles Duhigg. He wrote a book called The Power of Habit. You should all read it if you get a chance. But I'll talk briefly about what they came up with was, in that book, the habit loop. A lot of research went into this. The habit loop is made up of 3 parts. All habits in your life, and really life is just a bunch of habits all strung together. There's the cue, the routine, and the reward. So, when you're late at night, and you're walking in, there's something in the middle of the night, maybe low blood sugar, whatever that cue is, you're reaching, you're going to go out into the kitchen, you're going to get that cookie. The routine is getting that cookie, and the reward is the deliciousness of the cookie. But what doing says is, when you have a habit that you don't like in your life, you hack at that routine in between the cue and the reward. It's going to take some work, guys. I know it's a 4-letter word, but it's W. We're all busy working out our bodies at the gym. You can work your mind out just like that. And you work out by being mindful of your routines. Start hacking at it. Work at it. We can change habits because, as Duhigg told us in his book, you can change the routine. You are the master of your meaning. And destiny is in your hands. Habit is not destiny. The meaning of life is in your hands. Speaking of which, we need to remember, as Bruce Lee taught us, when you're going through this process of hacking at those habits that you don't like, and being mindful of your life, and really studying your life, which you maybe have never done. Bruce Lee in an interview was asked about his philosophy of life, and he said, be water, my friend. Flow. Don't get rigid and frustrated when you're trying to change your habits. Flow like water. The third heroic trait is join life's adventure. And I'm glad you're all here tonight, because I'm going to tell you what the meaning of life is right now. Are you ready? Yes. The meaning of life is to live it. Live it. That's it. Live life. That's another thing. We're always searching for meaning, searching for what is the meaning of life? It's just to live it. It's to get out of the man cave, to move beyond, to get what one of my friends says, to get a little bit on you. Get some life on you. Get out there. Mingle with people. They're not all axe murderers. They're not all out to just take your stuff. Every day, look for calls to adventure. For me, a call to adventure is when somebody cuts me off in traffic. Now, if you know me, I had for a while there a pretty bad road rage habit. Okay. Now, this goes back to the cues and the reward and the routine as well. But, oh man, when somebody cuts me off, I was like, and then after a while, I started saying to myself, wait, what's my habit here? The cue is somebody cut me off. My routine is But I hacked at that, and I hacked at it, and I was like a maniac in my car. You don't know what he's going through. That guy that cut you off, maybe he had a bad day, but, and I was just hammering at that routine until I stopped being in this state of road rage. So that was my call to adventure every day, was getting on that road and doing my commute. So when that adventure calls you, you have a choice to decide how you get to follow it and react to it. Guess what, guys? Everyone says, oh, things are tough, things are hard. Oh, guess what? That's normal. You don't want a boring life, no matter how much you think you do. You don't want a boring life. You want setbacks. And life's going to get it to you. They're normal. Challenges, setbacks, obstacles in life, they are normal. They're there to make you better. Remember this. Failure is your friend. When something happens and you fail in life, failure is your friend. You make it one of your mantras. Because that's another thing we do in our culture is fail shame. Anyone ever heard of fail shaming? That's what we do. We have to stop that. You learn more from failure than most of the time than you do from success. And your bottom line is true heroism is not about making yourself look good. It's not about slaying the dragon like Bruno thought. It's not about wooing the woman or getting all the treasure. Real heroism, from all the great stories throughout the ages, was about supporting yourself internally so you could be strong and go out past the threshold of what you knew in your little reality and support the world around you. It's not just about you. So, what we've all been talking to you tonight about is answering the call to adventure. Each of us in our own way from this stage today have given you a call to adventure, a call to action. So what I want you to do when you leave here, remember the traits I told you about. And I want you to go out and I want you to start building a brotherhood. Start reaching out to other men that maybe you have not talked to in a while. An old friend. Even your father, if you're estranged from him like I am. Someone in your life, you know, right now, think about it. You know someone that you haven't talked to in a while. And it's hurting you, and them. Well, you know what? Go beyond that. Meet new guys. Start tapping into that wisdom that we all share and that the lies are keeping us from sharing with each other. Create your own fate. Go out, like Viktor Frankl's example, make your own meaning. Whatever that meaning is. It doesn't have to be what we're doing up here, speaking to people. If you find meaning in just raising your kids right and being there as a father, if you find meaning in doing a hard day's work, blue or white collar, that's your meaning. Don't have to think it's some lofty goal that we all have to strive for, whatever it is, but find that purpose, find that meaning, and make sure you're following that dream, whatever it is. And finally, accept the adventure, because that's what life is. It's not a place of misery. It's not a world full of bad people that are just trying to hurt you. Don't buy into those lies. It's a place of adventure, and live it every day. Every day you're going to have those things that you can rise to the challenge and do. And what I want you to take away from this, one final thing. Don't just be the hero. Ladies and gentlemen, always strive to live the hero.